Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of Cuda Education. So today, we are just gonna dive a little bit deeper into some of the modified files that were done in order to create our triangle here. Kind of want to do it in more detail, and just really pay attention to what's going on. All right. So the end result of these modified files is that um, um, is that um, we we we're modifying the view controller in our application now. In clean slate 1.8, you could look it up in on my channel or in my videos. In clean slate 1.8, we do a deep dive into view controller specifically. But here we're just talking about view controller as it relates to our specific application. So if you want to know more about the view controller, definitely check out that other video. In a nutshell, it is the thing that creates the window, the surface, kind of manages window size and things of that nature. But it is a surface that metal or anything else that you want to do inside of the window is implemented or drawn on. Okay. So that is basically what the view controller is. So the key shift that we're doing now, in order for us to get now, instead of it being just a blank background blue color, right? Instead of just the background blue color, but now we actually have a triangle. The key changes that were made, so it's a window with a background color, right? The key changes is made is that now metal is actually rendering something to the window or to the surface, right? So now we're actually using metal. But in order to use metal, we do a little separation between the view controller, which is more of a user interface kind of thing, and the logic for the rendering of the triangle, which is more of a metal thing, right? And we want that separation just to keep our code and our sanity and everything organized, right? We want to keep everything organized. So the point of this whole review and this whole video is, and I just want to focus on the high level thing, right? At the start, just so we don't get confused when we go into the weeds, right? So the key shift, we still create the metal device here, which is talking about the view controller, right? We still create the metal device here because we need it before the renderer exists. But now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. Okay, so we need the metal device prematurely. Let's repeat. We still create the metal device here in the view controller because we need it before the renderer exists. But now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. The renderer takes it from there. It reads view device, creates its own command queue, and sets the pixel format, builds, pipeline states, etc. Um, that is sort of at the heart of what we are what we're dealing with. We'll get into it in a second. The other thing that we want to pay attention to is that the command queue also moved. In step one, the view controller created it. So, in the previous video when we just had the window with the blue background in the window, right? Just a clear color background of blue, navy blue, dark blue, whatever blue you want to call it. In step one, the view controller created it. Okay, so in the previous thing, it created it. Now the renderer creates it in the init with metal kit view function. This makes sense because the command queue is a rendering resource. It belongs with the code that submits command buffers, not with the UI controller. Okay? This makes sense because the command queue is a rendering resource. It belongs with the code that submits command buffers, not with the UI controller. Okay? So that's also the next thing that the next thing that I want to top level, high level, what I want to communicate to you guys. There's this thing called the AAPL renderer file. that we move stuff to. The view controller has no rendering code at all anymore. Its only job is creating the view and renderer during startup. And again, the only reason it's creating the renderer is because we need the renderer prematurely. We need the renderer prematurely, right? So just to repeat really quickly, the key shift, we still need the metal device here because this is talking to view controller, because we need it before the renderer exists, the metal device, right? But now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. Did I misspeak here? Did I misspeak here? Right. So we still create the metal device here in the view controller, but now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. The renderer takes it from there. It reads view.device, creates its own command queue because the command queue is a rendering thing. It's a rendering resource. Sets pixel formats, builds, pipeline states, etc. Notice that MTK view delegates. Okay, yeah. So that's that. And then the command queue also moved. In step 1, the view controller created it. Now the renderer creates it in init with metal kit view. This makes sense because the command queue is a rendering resource. It belongs with the code that submits command buffers and not with the UI controller. Okay. So let us dive into the modified files. Okay. So let's go to viewcontroller.h. All right. So there's some things that changed with this file in order for us to get this triangle on the screen. I apologize for the way how the triangle looks. I'm sort of just following what the timeline of what's going on here. All right. So I'm not about to go start messing with stuff and mess up the timeline. All right. So view controller H, which is the header file. One line removed, one line changed. Removed. We removed import metal/metal.h and MTK view delegate from the class declaration. Okay. Right. We remove those things. The view controller no longer talks to metal directly. It doesn't need MTL device, MTL command queue, or any metal types. So the import goes away. And since the renderer is now the object that responds to draw a frame or request to draw a frame and window resized, the MTK view delegate protocol moves to AAPL renderer instead. All right. So that's the reason why metal/metal.h and MTK view delegate were removed from the view controller. And the renderer is right. So that's for this this header file here. All right, so then now we go to our main file. All right, so remember that previously we had metal device, command queue variable, metal device variable, command queue variable, and MTK view variables. These 3 variables were removed. Notice also we have our AAPL renderer header file included here, okay? But they were removed from this main file, and it's replaced with our renderer. So this guy right here, it's replaced by this, right? So we're moving things over to the renderer, all right? The view controller no longer owns any metal objects. It just holds a reference to the renderer so it doesn't get deallocated. So this is a reference to the renderer. View did load before 6 lines of setup. So we had 6 lines of setup. We had the device, ns assert, command q, mtk, device, mtk view device, mtk view clear color, mtk view delegate. Actually, I want to do this. All right, so all right, so notice that MTK view delegate it used to be self, now it's referring to the renderer, right? So that's one thing. Clear color is now removed. Okay. Yeah, so let's look at, so we had that before and now we have this after, right, which is basically what this is. Right. The view controller no longer owns any metal objects. It just holds a reference to the renderer so it doesn't get deallocated, right? So what's going on here? We still create the metal device here because we need it before the renderer exists. Configure the MTK view with a metal device. So we have an MTK view here, and then we have a metal device here, right? So metal device. Okay. We still need the MTK, we still need the metal device here, but now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. Okay, so I guess it's talking here. Configure the MTK view with a metal device, right? That's this guy. Create the renderer, which takes over as the view's delegate. So the renderer takes, but now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. So we have the renderer here and we have its init method here, and it's basically taking this variable. That's my assumption right here, right? So we have this variable MTK view. We attach MTL create system default device. So we attach a metal device. And if there's no metal device, it says metal is not supported on this device. So we're creating the MTK view variable here. And then what we do is we attach it, but now we immediately hand the fully configured MTK view to the renderer's init method. So renderer init with metal kit view. So we're now handing over the MTK view to the renderer's init method. Okay. And yes, a lot of syntax going on here, but let us stay focused. So we hand it off to the renderer. The renderer takes it from there. It reads view.device, creates its own command queue, sets the pixel formats, builds the pipeline states, etc. All right, so that's that for handing it off to the to the renderer. Notice mtk.delegate equals underscore renderer instead of equals self. This is the handoff. Every 1/60th of a frame, MTK view calls draw in MTK view on its delegate. That now goes to the renderer, not the view controller, right? So if we look at our previous code, we could see that if we look at our previous code, we could see that MTK view delegate was self, right? So it was inside of the view controller. But now it's MTK view delegate is now the renderer. Okay, so that's just something for us to observe and put aside for a second, so we kind of follow and understand what's going on here, right? We create an MTK view variable, we attach it to a device. If the device fails, a metal device, if the device fails, we say metal is not supported on this device, right? And then we take that MTK view and hand it over to the renderer, to the renderer's initialization value, initialization function, right? Init with metal kit view, this guy right here, and then we also have to make sure the delegate, the MTK view delegate, is going to the renderer. And we will pay attention again to this language right here. It says, notice MTK view delegate equals underscore renderer instead of equals self. This is the handoff. Every 1/60th of a second, 60 frames per second, guys, 60 frames per second. So every frame is 1/60th of a second. MTK view calls draw in MTK view on its delegate, right? So this delegate now is going to be the renderer. That goes to the renderer, not the view controller. Okay. Two delegate methods deleted entirely. So void MTK view, blah, blah, blah. Drawable size will change, right? So we saw that in our previous videos. We saw that in our previous videos where we just had the blue background alone. And then we have the join MTK function itself here, right? Two delegate methods entirely deleted. Okay, so these move to APL renderer.mm. The view controller has no rendering code at all anymore. Its only job is creating the view and renderer during startup, right? Is creating the view and renderer during startup. So this is that guy right here, right? APL renderer. The view controller has no rendering code at all anymore. Its only job is to create the view and the renderer during startup. The command queue also moved, okay? So in step one, so we don't have any command queue stuff here. The command queue also moved. In step one, the view controller created it. Now the renderer creates it in the init with metal kit view, right? This makes sense because a command queue is a rendering resource. It belongs with code that submits command buffers, not with the UI controller. It belongs with the code that submits command buffers, not with the UI controller, right? So there you have it, guys. So this is the handoff right here. This is the handoff right here, right? So we will dive into more stuff. We'll dive into more stuff, in another episode. But I just wanted to get you guys, wanted to get you guys a little bit familiar with what's going on here. Now, it did say something about one line removed, one line changed. Import metal and MTK view delegate from the class. Remove these two. The view controller no longer start. I don't know. It's a one line change that I'm kind of trying to figure out. The view controller no longer talks to metal directly. It doesn't need the MTL device, MTLQ command, or any metal types. So the import goes away. And since the renderer is now the object that responds to draw frame and window resize, the MTK view delegate protocol moves to the AAPL renderer instead. All right, so I guess everyone wants to know what is all in the AAPL renderer. Well, I'm not going to show you in this video, in this episode. We're going to have to wait until the next episode, okay? Let's just focus on the view controller stuff right now, and really have that sink in, and then we could go to the next set of business in the next episode. This video is going to be Clean Slate 6.1, right? So Clean Slate, I'm sorry. This is going to be Clean Slate 1.6. I apologize. This is going to be Clean Slate 1.61. Clean Slate 1.61, okay? The original seed or start of this thread is Clean Slate 1.6, okay? So you kind of get the gist of the numbering system. I am going down a particular path branching off of 1.6. So this video is 1.61 because we're dealing with modified files here, and then also in this particular thread, it's we modified files and we created files. So this is modified files. Clean Slate 1.62 is going to be some files that we added, including the AAPL renderer file, okay? But we will tackle that in another video. What makes Clean Slate 1.6 Clean Slate 1.6? Well, it's because of the fact that we added a triangle to our application. So in the very start of the project, we just had a window with the blue background. But now we have a window with the blue background, and then also we have metal rendering this triangle, okay? So we have modified files and we have created files in order for us to get this triangle here, okay? So 1.61 is I'm tackling the modified files. 1.62 is me tackling the created files, okay? We have modified files and created files in order for us to now get this triangle on the screen rendered by metal, okay? So this is 1.61. The next episode is should be 1.62. If you want to know more about the view controller stuff, right? Specifically the view controller, you could check out video Clean Slate 1.8. If you want to know more about the view controller, Clean Slate 1.8, that video on my channel, it's also part of the Apple Metal playlist. That video will talk specifically more about, and in general terms, about the view controller and what it's all about. All right, so finally, guys, just to recap what we did in this episode. The first thing we did was we investigated the view controller H. We made a bunch of changes because the view controller no longer talks directly to metal. We're moving stuff over to the renderer file, to the renderer situation. So we take out stuff out of the view controller. A lot of the heavy lifting isn't done, inside of the view controller. The view controller is a UI interface kind of thing. It's not really supposed to be handling heavy and complex rendering logic, okay? It's just a UI thing that says, okay, we're going to create a window and all of that stuff, right? And, we're going to give you a window and then you could do stuff with that window, right? I believe from what we have seen today that resizing the window is actually moved to the renderer too, but that's besides the point. The view controller is a UI thing, and it's just dealing with, it gives you a window and then it hands it off to the renderer, to the metal renderer, and the renderer does what it wants, right? So we have this view controller header file, and we made some minor modifications to it, and then we go to the main file, which is this guy right here, and in this we remove a bunch of stuff again. So we remove a bunch of variables, and things, because again, we are now pushing things over to the renderer. We're not doing things inside of the view controller. We're now pushing things over to the renderer. So we push stuff over to the renderer, which is why we remove all these variables, the device variable, the command queue variable, and the MTK view variable that's sort of inside of the renderer. The view controller no longer owns any metal objects. It just holds a reference to the renderer, so it doesn't get deallocated, right? Yeah. Okay. Right. Another thing to note, as we review, is that we create we do have the device, the view, right? Okay, so we still create the metal device inside of the view controller, right? So the metal device is created inside of the view controller because we need it before, the renderer exists. I don't quite fully grasp this piece right here. Because we are including the header file for the AAPL, but I guess this header file doesn't. This header file, probably doesn't actually create the renderer yet. So we have to actually create the device, the metal device here, attach to it. Make sure there's no errors with attaching to it, and then we create our renderer. So the key shift, we create the metal device here. And then we create an MTK view, and then we hand off the MTK view to the renderers, the renderers init method, init with metal kit view, right? So we hand off the MTK view to the renderer, and then we set the delegate for the MTK view to be the renderer, okay? And that is basically right. So notice that the delegate is now renderer instead of self, because previously it was self. And then these two things, the drawable size will change, and the drawing MTK view. The view controller has no rendering code at all anymore. Its only job is to create the view and the renderer during startup. And then the command queue is also moved to, now the renderer creates it inside of init with metal K view, right? So the command queue is moved to the renderer. This makes sense because the command queue is a rendering resource. It belongs with code that submits command buffers, not with the UI controller. Remember, view controller is just a user interface controller, right? So that's it for this episode. I hope it wasn't too long. I know it's a lot of moving parts. I try to make it as simple and even repeat myself multiple times, just so we kind of get a grasp of it. Clean Slate 6.2 is going to go over the files that we added in order to make our triangle happen. All right. So I hope you guys followed along, get involved. We're trying to do our best to learn metal real time in 2026. We want to be in a good place by the end of the year when it comes to metal. Thank you guys for watching. This is Cuda Education. Support the channel, tell your friends, all that good stuff. You know the deal. Let's build the community. Have a great day. Bye.